Chase Thomas podcast. My nephew needs me to record. See, I already hate it. I hate it.
All right, hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Chase Thomas podcast from still the aforementioned Chase Thomas, coming to you live from Knoxville, Tennessee, Everything School HQ. Joining me down there in Tequila, Georgia, co-host of the Georgia Voice of College Football and fellow University of North Georgia alumni, Matt Green, is here. Matt, good evening, sir. How are you?
Good evening, sir. It is good to be back with you. The NBA season is officially over. So this is the dog days of summer, I believe they call it, where all we got is baseball here for what a solid 2 months before college football starts.
Yeah, because the College World Series also wrapped up today with an ump show with Coastal Carolina's coach getting tossed in the first inning for some nonsense, and LSU winning 2 of 3 now in the College World Series. The last couple of years, Jay Johnson gets his second ring down there on the Bayou. So good job by them, by the LSU Tigers. The SEC CWS streak continues on. 6, 7? Is it 6 now? 6 straight SEC titles for
something like that. I saw the graphic the SEC put up of just in the actual College World Series final. The last, I don't know, it's 2005. Now that you're counting Texas and Oklahoma as SEC teams, it's there's literally 1 year that didn't have one of the current SEC, and there's, at least 5 or 6 times where it's SEC versus SEC in the finals.
Yeah, I want to say it's 5 or okay, so it's 6 here, and then
because I know 1 year was Texas, Florida, back in the 05, 06, so that counts now, but obviously it wasn't at the time.
Yeah, because there wasn't anything in 20, so yeah, I guess they're skipping 20 and 2019 Vandy, and yeah, so there you go. And then Tennessee right there again. So it's going to be 7 next year with the Tennessee Vols getting the number 1 player in the transfer portal today, and Henry Ford, superstar from Virginia. So, Tennessee
Henry
baseball.
Ford. I know.
Yeah, Henry Ford. But yeah, so we'll see if he makes it to campus. He's a high draft risk too, but nature of the beast here. Next month will be pretty big for the Vols in terms of who makes it to campus, who doesn't. Because that's the weird part about the transfer portal and college baseball and the draft part of it. And it's not something that you have to worry about in basketball and football, obviously, is you sign your class, you don't have to be like, okay, who of my class makes it in, even though I have the number 1 overall class like Tennessee did last year. And I think number 3 this year, you still don't know all of who's making campus. And it's just it's hard to forecast. And now everything's just kind of crazy because of the number crunch going down to 34 with the House settlement, and a lot of confusion about is there going to be some grandfathered in spots? Is it really going to be a strict 34 when you have to get to 34, and how that all works? So it's a crazy time in college baseball, big boy college baseball, with the Tennessees and the LSUs of the world, Matt Green. But Georgia will get there in due time. Man, we'll see.
They
we'll
were
see if
a
Wes
regional
Johnson...
host, sir. They were a national 1 seed. Get out of here.
Did they make the Supers for the 5th straight year? Did they make the Supers? Or was that just Tennessee that in a down year still made it to the Supers?
They did not. They had a disappointing postseason, but it's everything school down at Athens. I don't know if you saw schools win multiple championships this year. Georgia's one of 5 or 6. So, just winning championships all around.
Wow. Well, there you have it.
I didn't see the Vols on that list, sir.
Tennessee men's basketball, back-to-back Elite Eights. They just won the national title. They've been in baseball. They've gone to 5 straight Supers, the longest streak in college baseball. They're the number 1 college baseball program around, even with LSU winning their 2nd in 3 years. Still, everything runs through Tennessee over the last 5 years. Then you look at football. You made the college football playoff this past year. You won 30 games the last 3. It's pretty good. Pretty good. Pretty good, Matt.
I
Green.
Couldn't say it better. They're pretty good at everything, school. There we go.
Wow. Well, I'm not going to take the bait here on this fine Sunday night, Matt Green, because it is a pod divided where we talk balls and dogs, and along with a whole heck of a lot of college football stuff. Like you said, we are now in the doldrums of the sports calendar with 2.5 months to go. Or not even 2.5 months, 2 months and a week until things kick off. A little bit less than that because week 0, obviously, kicking off a week prior. So we got about exactly 2 months before actual college football is back on our screens here.
Yeah, we're sitting at 68 days.
Yeah, there you go. So it will be here before you know it. Fall camp will be here. There's all kinds of stuff. Everyone back on campus. The recruiting dead period, though, has happened now after this weekend. So you have 2 months of that being done, and a lot of commits over the next month and a half, I think. I think you're just going to see a crazy amount of commits because there are some classes you go through, Matt Green, and look at, and this will lead into our balls and dogs portion of the conversation today, but I do think it's interesting because you go through the commit list and you see like USC at the top who have like 30 something commits, Matt Green, and then you'll see some folks like Tennessee, I think right now is 9, and they're trending for a lot, and we'll see. And I know Georgia had a couple more, but you look at the disparity or the discrepancy across the board right now in terms of how many folks have a lot of people in this class in their classes who still have a long way to go, but it's just all over the place. So for the folks panicking about the current rankings or your school's rankings, like just let's take it down a notch because there's still a long way to go. Texas at number 9 right now, and they just had another 5-star edge who was a flip from Oregon from the last month. That was also just coaches have got to stop doing this, Matt Green, in this era. Did you see Richard Wesley when he and Dan Lanning dove into the pool last month, and then he decommits not long after, and now he commits to Texas? Just don't do anything. Like just don't do it. Even if it feels good or you feel pretty good about it, just don't jump into the.
I disagree, sir. What sort of advice are you giving to the young people out there? You know, it's better to have
I'm talking about for Dan Lanning's sake. No.
Better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all, sir. You just go all in. Go all into your every relationship. You know, you gotta do that.
I guess so. If you say
find
so.
your forever home in college.
Well, Matt Green, speaking of college football recruiting, I thought it'd be fun before we dive into our SEC quarterback tiers, which I think will be a really fun conversation. That's our theme episode. I think we'll do Big Ten next week too for the Big Power 2, and we'll discuss that. And as we continue on, I mean, it'll be conference preview season here soon, so we'll be doing that on this very program here in a matter of weeks to get ready for the 2025-2026 college football season, sir. But for the college football part of things here, new dog commit that you're most excited about right now. A couple new guys in the fold here. I saw an offensive tackle in the mix for Georgia, but who on the most recent commit list for Georgia are you most excited about in this 26 class for the Dogs?
Yeah, this class has been just, it feels like they get a commit every 3 or 4 days over the last month or so. And you saw Caden Harris, the corner, flip from Vanderbilt to Georgia. And then earlier today, the 4-star linebacker Shadarius Tootle flip from Auburn to Georgia. So those were both big to get flips. But like you said, the offensive tackle, Akine Egboko, was he 6'6", 280, top 50 player in the country out of North Carolina. Georgia got his brother defensive lineman in the 2025. No, is this 2025? This is 26.
This is 26.
26. In the 2025 class, Georgia got his older brother, so that's big time. But yeah, I think you just look. We've kind of talked about this before, like how Georgia built their powerhouse, like with Sam Pittman and everything, and man, there were some freaky offensive tackles that they helped build that powerhouse offensive line group with Andrew Thomas, Isaiah Wilson, who's I'm forgetting the Steelers, Broderick Jones, Marius Mims, like just so many 5-star offensive linemen. And I feel like it's been a couple years since we saw Georgia really get like the big time. And obviously he's not a 5-star, but he's 40th ranked player on the 24/7 rankings. So just a big time get. I feel like you got to get those elite offensive linemen.
Yeah, and Georgia's done a good job. I mean, last year, Juan Gaston was a big one, and then
that's true.
What was the inside interior guy they got from Parkview, my alma mater? What was his name? Glover? Something Glover, I want to say.
Oh yeah, that might be playing center. What is his name? I'll find that.
But Georgia's low-key got a lot of turnover on the offensive line this year, and it's kind of curious. Like if Juan Gaston makes a move, if he's one of your tackles, we'll see. But Georgia obviously had to rebound because they went all in right on Jackson Cantwell, who was down to Georgia and Miami. He ends up at Miami, so it's just it's interesting how Georgia's building out their offensive line, and it was a little bit shakier, especially in the run game, than we've seen in a long time under Georgia. So kind of curious what Stacey Searles and that staff do in this class in particular, because like I said, Jackson Cantwell was a big target, and Brett Collegier is another one, and they're obviously in it for a lot of big fish, but the biggest fish winding up in Miami was pretty interesting to me. So in Jackson Cantwell, so we'll see. And ultimately, I think Caden Harris is a sneaky big one for Georgia because it did two things. One, Georgia gets a good 4-star top 100 corner. Two, Vanderbilt's one big win this summer in terms of like, oh, we got a 4-star. We pulled Caden Harris, obviously a Tennessee guy, and he doesn't stick in this class. And those are the ones where it's like a gut punch when Diego Pavia is talking about like, we're going to run Tennessee and we're going to run college football after this year and blah, 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 blah. And then like Caden Harris, you can't land Caden Harris. Tennessee and Vanderbilt are actually in a fight for Joel Wyatt, edge 4-star at the Webb School. We'll see where that recruitment goes. But in terms of Caden Harris, it just does two things where it's like, oh man, Vanderbilt still got a long ways to go, because even after a good year, the in-state kid still is like, yeah, I'm going to go down to Athens, and I'm going to trust the development down there with Kirby Smart and the Dogs.
For sure. And Kirby Smart clearly has a type. Cortez Smith was the name of that offensive lineman, by the way, in the 2025 class. But yeah, Georgia, they have like 6 DBs in this class, and they're all like 6'1". Justice Fitzpatrick was another commit they got recently. Mika Fitzpatrick's younger brother. Jordan Smith, another safety. He's like 6'2" in this class. So bunch of big DBs. That's what Kirby Smart loves in Athens. And Caden Smith fits that, or Caden Harris fits that.
Oh, Dontrell Glover was the offensive lineman in that class too that I was thinking of. He was at Langston Hughes.
Okay.
Yeah, 3'15", 6'4". Yeah, Langston Hughes powerhouse down there in Fairburn. So yeah, I remember liking a lot of Georgia's 25 recruiting class, but we shall see, Matt Green. True or false, off the top of your head, Tennessee has landed a 5-star offensive tackle in the last 2 classes. True or false, Matt Green?
We're counting 2024? Oh,
no,
wait, 25 was David Sanders' class?
Mm-hmm, 25 and then this class.
True, because David Sanders,
and then
that's the only one, right?
No, 2. It's true. We have this year too. Gabriel Asinda from the Baylor School is a 5-star offensive tackle in this 26 class. So don't look now. Stack in the trenches, Matt Green.
You got to do, man.
You got to stack him. But Gabriel Asinda has been in the boat for a while, so I'm not going to include him on my list, even though I am very excited about Gabriel Asinda and what he can be at Tennessee going forward. But my new commit that's kind of interesting, because I kind of talked about this at the top here, Matt Green, because right now, Tennessee, they're 14th nationally, but remember, folks, they just don't have many recruits in this class. Like there's a lot up in the air. So they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, they have 9 players in this class. So it's still a ways to go as Tennessee fills this thing out. But the one of note for me that this is really getting in the weeds here, Matt Green, but one of the things Tim Banks has done exceptionally well of late is he has always developed these safeties who are not blue chip guys, but they're in the program for a while. Will Brooks was the most recent example of this. He was a walk-on starter this year at safety, right next to Andre Turrentine, and he was great. Like he had a pick 6 against NC State. He had the game-sealing pick against Alabama. He had a really good year, and a lot of fans were worried about the safety spot going into last year. We're like, oh, we're going to have a walk-on. And you kind of saw this with Dan Jackson, right? Where fans just they see walk-on, and it's like, all right, well, maybe Kirby Smart knows that Dan Jackson's a pretty good player, and now he's with the Lions. Like, it's kind of the same kind of deal where Tim Banks knows safeties, and Tim Banks is really good at handling and evaluating that position, but they still have not recruited blue chippers really at that spot. The only blue chipper they had committed, who then was a last-second flip, was Shady Hayward last year from Toombs County, who ended up at Florida in the 2025 class. So that was it. Like right now they're battling for a 4-star out of Oakland, Craig Tutt, and that's an Ole Miss Tennessee battle, it looks like. So we'll see on that front of the next couple of weeks. But by and large, he's made do with 3 stars and transfers at that safety spot. And Tennessee added 2 safeties who are both 3 stars in the last couple of weeks. One, KJ McLean, whose brother plays for Ohio State. He is an interesting guy from West Orange, New Jersey. He's the number 44 player at his position nationally, number 8 player in the state. But he is super interesting to me because he's 5'11", 160. KJ McLean, like I said, his brother is at Ohio State, so that's intriguing. But he's one of 2 3-stars they've added, because the other one, who I actually think is most interesting, is Luke Thompson, who's 6'1", 175 from Franklin. He ran a 4.140, I believe, Matt Green. So he's a burner. And he didn't have a bunch of big offers.
He ran a 4.140?
Or 4.440. What did I say? Okay. 4.4140.
4.40. I was like, he's the fastest human being alive?
I did not mean, not 4.140. Sorry, 4.4140. But he's super fast. And he's someone, okay, here it is. Yeah, just want to make sure. He did get clocked at 4.41 seconds in the 40-yard dash last year. He actually set a school record last month by running in May by running a 10.59 second 100 meters at Tennessee's Class AAA track and field championships. So super fast kid. He's also a legacy. Both of his parents played at sports at Tennessee, but he's someone that I think Tennessee fans are like, oh, we'll see. Like, oh, 3-star Luke Thompson, like, he can move this, that, and the other. But he hits hard. He's a fast kid. And I just, like, he's not going to pop right now. Like, he's not going to be the starting Tennessee safety in 2026, 2027 even. But if you were to tell me he sticks through this in this new era where with rev share and everything else, where if he's bought into the whole development part of this and he buys into the tutelage of Tim Banks and just lives in the Tennessee weight room and builds on that speed that he already has, that super fast closing speed, he's just someone I would just pinpoint. I would just circle Vol fans of like, if Luke Thompson's like your starting safety for Tennessee in 2027, maybe 2028, the latest, that wouldn't surprise me. I think he's a really interesting long-term projection guy that I would not be surprised if he stays in the system, that he's someone that could be a factor in a major way in a couple years for Tennessee. So super fast kid, legacy kid, easy to root for. But Luke Thompson is someone I'm very fascinated to follow his trajectory at Tennessee. And if he's someone you just have to kind of keep, you just want to keep in the back of your mind where you're like, hey, you see Luke Thompson on the field in a couple of years, hey, it might be all right. And he might be a pretty good diamond in the rough for Tennessee out of there in Franklin. So Luke Thompson, the most interesting one of late to me, because I think in this new era, if he commits to, hey, sticking around and being part of this group and growing into the spot and maybe one day being a starting safety for Tim Banks in Tennessee a couple years down the line, being a Dan Jackson type, except with just a lot of speed, flying all over the place. Why not?
What is it about Dan Jackson? What is the comp to Dan Jackson?
Well, Dan Jackson, I mean, the thing with Dan Jackson is he could move. Like Dan Jackson was like, Will Brooks wasn't like a super speedy guy. Like he was I think a lax guy at Alabama. Like he was a lacrosse dude. Like he's big. Will Brooks was big. Luke Thompson was more fast, and Dan Jackson just felt like he had a pretty fast closing speed. And you can tell me if I'm wrong, but I just felt like he closed pretty quickly, and he was you ready for this? Sneaky athletic. Dan Jackson,
Sneaky
Matt
athletic.
Green.
Real gym rat out there. No, I think Dan Jackson hit people. He definitely had good closing speed. He kind of seemed similar to J.R. Reed for Georgia too. Just like always in the right place and just hit people hard when they caught the ball.
You ready for this, Matt Green?
What's that?
What a pull by me. Dan Jackson ran a 4.4 40-yard dashes pro day.
There you go.
That's what I'm saying. Luke Thompson ran a 4.41.
We see what you're getting at.
I think those are guys where people just, hey, Dan Jackson was an athlete, man. And I think Luke Thompson is an athlete. And I just think if he bulks up and he starts leaning into the heavy hitter and he has that same closing speed Dan Jackson had, Dan Jackson was a damn good Georgia football player for the last couple of years, and Luke Thompson might follow in that mold. If I'm Luke Thompson, I'm watching just nothing but Dan Jackson highlights just like the last couple
Yeah, I
years.
mean,
yeah.
if you really break it down, Dan Jackson was a walk-on that was a 4-year contributor. Like 2021, the biggest third down of Bryce Young's career. I think a lot of us remember it. Where Keely Ringo took the pick to the house to steal the national championship game. Dan Jackson was on the field for that play in 2021, and then he gets hurt early in 2022 and misses most of that season. But it's like he would have been a starter on that team, and then obviously starts in 2023 and 2024. So play starter minutes. Or am I confusing the years right now? He got hurt one of those years. But yeah, basically contributed for 4 years, even though he's a walk-on. It's kind of crazy.
All right, Matt Green. Well, we are going to do our SEC quarterback tiers here on today's edition of A Pod Divided, sir. We broke these up, and I should say you had a good idea on how to break up these tiers in terms of experienced good quarterbacks, unproven potential stars, experienced limited upside quarterbacks, brand new starters, and some experience not good. Let's start at the bottom here and then work our way up, right? I think that's probably the best way of going about this, Matt Green. So some experience.
To start with, I'll say that we there's one guy that we don't have on each other's list because we listed a different player on that team. And I guess we'll see who that is. But
I have a guess as to who that might be.
So some experience not good is our first tier. So this is my 13 through 16. You only have 3 in this tier. I have Joey Aguilar, Jackson Arnold, Blake Shapen, and Zach Calzada in this bottom tier. I think this is going to be where the...
Hold on, say who yours were?
Joey Aguilar, Jackson Arnold, Blake Shapen, Zach Calzada. And I saw you had one of these guys, which is bizarre to me.
I had Zach Calzada. I think we're in agreement there. Jackson Arnold, full agreement. I had Taylon Green, though.
Yeah, I could see Taylon Green. I think Taylon Green is I put him a little bit higher on this list.
He wasn't good last year. It was one of those, like, he had a great game against Tennessee because, of course, like that just, it's great to see. But he wasn't good last year. It was one of those where he was okay, 15 touchdowns, 9 picks. He was fine, but I mean, 60% completion percentage, 9 picks, like we said. He was okay, 8.3 yards per attempt. I just wouldn't say...
What are his rushing numbers?
Ooh, that's a good question. I only have passing in front of me.
600 yards and 8 touchdowns. See, that's where he's a game changer.
So in their last 3 losses against SEC comp, so they lost to Ole Miss, Texas, and Mizzou. He had 0 touchdowns in all 3 games. 0.
Yeah, it's not good.
Yeah, I don't think he's very good. I think
he was hurt in the Tennessee game too, so they had to play that fourth quarter without him.
That's correct. But yeah, he had 15 carries for 81 yards in that Holiday Bowl or Liberty Bowl against Texas Tech. But yeah, I mean, against Ole Miss, 10 carries, 16 yards. Texas, 16 carries for -4. Mizzou, 14 for 53. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think he's like a great example, Matt Green, of like, he was really fun in Boise State. And I think people forget a couple years ago that he was fun there. When you're talking about John Mateer and the step up, remember, Washington State was not playing in the Pac-12 that you remember from 2 years ago. Like what Cam Ward faced in the Pac-12 2 years ago included Oregon, included Washington, included other schools that were not in it last year. It was the Pac-2. John Mateer was playing G5 competition by and large last year. It is a gigantic step up for him. And you just penciling in these G5 guys and you throw in Joey Aguilar, I think it's very fair because he had a terrible year this past year. And I've seen a lot of people talk about the App State offensive line, whatever. Folks, App State was a preseason college football playoff contender. They were a team that people were like, it's either Boise, App State, one of those teams. Like Sean Clark was like getting a lot of buzz there. They fired the whole staff. Like the whole season was up in it. It wasn't like one of those things where it's like he went into the year like, if this offensive line comes together, then Joey has a chance to be. No, that's not what it was. Like Joey had a great 2023, and the expectation was App State was going to contend for a G5 spot in the playoff, and they had one of their worst seasons ever in the obviously in FBS, but also just in a long time in general. So they clean house. That all happened. So like it's just not. You're not seeing the whole story when you're like, yeah, the offensive line wasn't good, or Joey wasn't good, or the offensive or the receivers, whatever, blah blah blah. That is not what the preseason expectation was for that program and for where they were at going into 2024. All that being said, I don't have Joey Aguilar on my list, Matt Green, because I don't think Joey Aguilar is going to get the most amount of starts at Tennessee this year. I do not believe that is going to be the case. I think Jake Merklinger is going to get the most amount of starts. And I don't even know if Joey Aguilar is going to be able to beat Jake Merklinger out for the opener against Syracuse. We'll see if that ends up happening. But yeah, I think if I had him as QB1, I would put him in the some experience, not good list. But yeah, the only one that's just like a definite is Zach Calzada. And I think if you're an Auburn fan, seeing Jackson Arnold on both the right list should scare you because this is a huge year. I mean, unless you're Hugh Freeze, who's like, I understand I have to get to a bowl game, where you're like, sir, you have to do more than get to 6 wins, my guy. Like, it's year 3. You've recruited at an elite level the last 3 years. No, you have Cam Coleman, Eric Singleton. You were very aggressive in the portal. You should have a good offensive line. Defense should be really strong. You need to be around 8 or 9 wins this year. But you also burned a lot of bridges or burned a lot of trust from the fan base because you went back-to-back with Peyton Thorne, knowing what you had in Peyton Thorne after year 1. Now you're putting all your eggs in the Jackson Arnold basket, and I don't know, man. And people are like, oh, he beat Alabama. Those stats against Alabama, Matt Green, pretty putrid. Like they were, Jackson Arnold was not putting the team on his back against Alabama. Oklahoma's defense
they
put
threw
the team on their back.
At least one pick six, right? Didn't that have like a second one that they took down like the 5-yard line or something like that? Like the defense was just dominating that game.
Yeah, he was like 9 for 12 for like 23 yards. It's something bonkers what his numbers were for that game. Here it is, 9 for 11, 68 yards.
Wow.
Like that was not
efficiency,
great,
sir.
Yeah, I mean his
found a way
best
to win.
game, I guess, was Ole Miss, and they lost 26-14. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I would say he's the one that might be unfair because it's like not even a full season of starting experience. So, like Taylor Green and Zach Calzada, Blake Shapen, like we've seen these guys. Granted, I have Taylor Green a little bit higher tier, but we've at least seen multiple years of experience with these guys. Jackson Arnold has more upside than I think anyone else in this group. Like if Jackson Arnold took a step this year, it wouldn't just be shocking, especially with the weapons that Auburn has.
Here's where you're wrong, though. Blake Shapen is a really good college football quarterback. Putting this in here, so Blake Shapen, Matt Green, last year before he got injured and lost of the year, 8 TDs, 1 pick, 974 yards in 4 games? Yeah, 974 in 4 games. 8 TDs, 1 pick against Arizona State, who went to the playoff. They lost 30-23, 18-28, 268, 9.6 yards per attempt, 2 TDs, no picks. The guy can sling it. Like, I think what people don't remember is 2022. He had, let's see here, 2,700 yards, 68% completion percentage, 7.6 yards per attempt, 18 TDs, 10 picks, 137.7 QB rating, 2023, 61%. So like he's shined. Like he is someone who I just think Blake Shapen is in a good system for him. He's an older quarterback, obviously. He's played SEC competition, and where he was before, Baylor still was playing good competition. I just think Blake Shapen's a good quarterback. I think you forget how big of a deal he was for Baylor early on. Do you remember that Baylor team, Matt Green, and how close what that team was when Blake Shapen was QB1? Do you remember?
I'm getting the years mixed up. Was it the Oklahoma State Baylor year?
Yes, that was Blake Shapen.
That was Blake Shapen, like the starter down the stretch.
Did he get hurt?
Because they had the other quarterback. I feel like I was trying to remember that. So let's see, 2022, 18 touchdowns, 10 picks. 2022 was TCU. No, that was TCU winning the because they won the championship that year. Was it 2021?
Was it that year? It's been a while.
Okay, so that was Oklahoma State, Baylor in the Big 12 championship. And yeah, was he just the starter like the final few games or something that year? Is that? Yeah, I remember some good experience with Blake Shapen at Baylor. He threw 5 touchdowns and no picks that year. So how many games did he actually start?
Let's see. He hasn't been able to, like, his whole thing is just staying healthy.
So he was 23 of 28, 3 touchdowns, no picks in that Big 12 championship game versus Oklahoma State.
Yeah, so he did play in that game, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not crazy. I thought he was the quarterback in that game.
Yeah, and I mean they won. They won. Oklahoma State
said
was
they kept
this
Oklahoma
close.
State out of the CFP.
Yeah, they were a yard away from getting to the college football playoff.
Blake Shapen played in big games. Matt Green beat teams that were on the door. Like, Blake Shapen's a good quarterback. His whole thing is he can't stay healthy. But if he's healthy this year, I think Blake Shapen's gonna have a good year. Like, I think Blake Shapen is a good quarterback. Like, he is a good quarterback who we've seen good things from. He's been around forever, but he's good. And he's played good competition. It's not like a Joey Aguilar, Taylor Green situation coming from the G5 and going to SEC. It's like Blake Shapen was playing big boy football in the Big 12 and was off to a good start with Mississippi State last year before he went down. So I don't know if he's healthy.
I have to ask a question though, because my tiers are like literally my rankings. Like, it is this tier, like that's top 3. Then they get to 4 through 7, whatever. I have Blake Shapen at number 15 in this conference. Are you telling me
that's outrageous
that he's a top 3 quarterback in this conference?
No, not top 3. I think of the, like, you're going to spoil my experience good quarterbacks list. I did it based on your tiers.
We'll get to yours. We'll get to yours. Yeah. That's anything else for this some experience not good tier.
I think that's it. I think we're good there. Brand new starters, Matt Green.
So I noticed there's a guy that you have on this list, 2 guys that could both be on this list, in this tier, I should say, and we both kind of swapped them. So on my brand new starters list, 10 through 12, I have Gunnar Stockton, Ty Simpson, and Bo Pribula. And so could have Austin Simmons because he's also in that brand new tier like you have. But I have him a little bit higher. So why let's talk about that. You have in the unproven potential stars in the next category, I have Austin Simmons, but you have Ty Simpson. So what is the difference between Austin Simmons and Ty Simpson?
Well, one's a 5-star big time prospect who's just been around forever in Ty Simpson. He's in a system that we have seen produce big time results with Michael Penix, that pocket style guy, where Ty Simpson has waited his turn. He got to learn the system last year. He gets Ryan Grubb in this year, so it's not going to be Nick Sheridan and Kalen DeBoer this year. I think you have a fantastic 3-man receiving core with Isaiah Horton, Ryan Williams, and Jeremy Bernard for Ty Simpson this year. I think they're going to run the ball better this year. Cade Proctor is in a huge year at the tackle spot. If he has a good year, he's probably off to the NFL. It's a big year for him. I think he's in a great spot. I think he is someone that if you just tell me, it's kind of like a souped up version of Mac Jones in 2020, where you just look around, and you're like, man, there's a lot to like around you, even if you're not sure he himself is just going to be a superstar type talent. Like he's in a much better situation than Jalen Milroe even was last year. But I also just think he's a much better fit for what Kalen DeBoer wants to do. Like, Kalen DeBoer wants to slice and dice you with elite 3 receivers and a pocket style guy, and he's just going to pick you apart. Ty Simpson, I think, has that talent to pick you apart. Austin Simmons came in against Georgia and had that big time drive to keep Ole Miss in it, and obviously they ended up beating the Dogs. So what we've seen from Austin Simmons is good. Austin Simmons is still a young player. Like, he got to college as a junior, I want to say. So he's still super young. I think he's 19 years old. So even though he's been in the system and been waiting his turn for a little bit, he's a young guy. And I just think it's a little early. I also think they just lost so much. Like, Ole Miss, I still think they have a chance to be a good team. I think Austin Simmons could grow into a star at Ole Miss. It's a good track record with Jackson Dart, with Matt Corral, and you trust Lane Kiffin with quarterbacks. But I also think it's going to take some time, because Jackson Dart was not a star in year 1 under Lane Kiffin. It took some time. Like, he grew into a star and a first-round pick in Oxford under Kiffin. I just don't see it this year. So I did it based on this year of who I think could be a unproven star and become a star this year. I think Simpson could be a Heisman finalist this year with the way
Wow.
Alabama's set up, with how good I think Alabama's going to be, and its personnel. Like if Jeremy Bernard, Isaiah Horton, Ryan Williams are all healthy, and the offensive line takes a step, I think they are, getting Ryan Grubb back in to call plays with Kalen DeBoer, I just think everything is set up for Alabama to have a huge, fantastic year. The way that everyone talks about LSU, is how I feel about Alabama. So I just think Alabama is set up for that. And I think Ty Simpson, it's going to pay dividends for him to sit and wait his turn and to not panic. And he is in a great spot this year where, man, Ryan Williams and Jeremy Bernard and Isaiah Horton is definitely one of the best trios, if not the best wide receiver trio in the country potentially this year. So I think Ty Simpson's going to have a breakout star year, and I would not be surprised. Just he's a forgotten 5-star from years ago.
Yeah, there's a lot of 5-stars that never become anything. It seems like
Well,
more
can I say
recently
this?
too.
He was a big time 5-star talent, and he waited his turn just like Arch Manning, but he gets no buzz that Arch gets. Like I understand it's the Manning part of it, but Manning is getting all of these just like preseason number 1 quarterback list. Like Reese Davis had Arch Manning, and I think at number 1, number 2, something like that, and his top 5 college football quarterbacks. And I'm like, if you're going to do that, how do you not have Ty Simpson on your list? Like Ty Simpson, big time prospect, obviously. His dad is, I think, the Tennessee Tech coach, I want to say. He's Tennessee big time talent. His brother also a big time quarterback recruit talent, I think in the 27 or 28 class. But all that being said, he's waited his turn. He is in a super QB friendly offense. Alabama is a fantastic spot for him right now. Like I just said, with the receivers, their offensive line, and where things are headed just in Tuscaloosa as a whole. Why would you not throw Bama in that mix? Like, why would you not throw Ty Simpson in that same vein? I understand it's Arch Manning and it's a Manning, but like Ty Simpson, if you're going to throw Arch in there, I think you have to throw Ty Simpson in there.
Well, for one, Arch's name is Manning, so
right.
there's a lot more. Also, he was the number 1 recruit according to some people too. Like Ty Simpson is a 5-star, but he was not the number 1 overall recruit.
He was close. What was?
He's up there for sure. I look at it.
He was the number 4 quarterback in his class.
Yeah, maybe this is judging him too harshly, but Jalen Milroe wasn't great last year. So there was opportunities where he's turning the ball over, where like Ty Simpson never got a look for a second. And maybe it's a completely different offense if you got to throw in Ty Simpson versus what you're doing with Jalen Milroe. And then also you go back to 2023 when Milroe just kind of inexplicably got benched for a game versus South Florida, and they went with Tyler Buckner. Maybe that's not fair. That's Ty Simpson as a true freshman, but I think it's kind of interesting that he wasn't the backup in 2023, and maybe that's judging him too harshly, but to go from a guy who really wasn't getting just any consideration with a struggling quarterback, and not struggling, but a guy who struggled at times, maybe it was just Jalen Milroe's team and, they weren't going to shake it up, but I think that's to go from that to being, one of the best quarterbacks in the SEC. I don't know. I have a hard time seeing him become a star this year, even though the supporting cast is going to be great. Austin Simmons, though, this is what Lane Kiffin does with every single quarterback. Maybe they don't have the team they had last year, defensively, but I feel like what Lane Kiffin is going to do with a talented quarterback.
I think 27 or 26 is the year that Austin Simmons breaks out. Like, I just don't think it's this year. I think it's kind of a gap year for Ole Miss. I could be wrong, but I think they just feel like more of an 8-4 type team, and he doesn't have a star-breaking year. I just think he has some ups and downs. I would not be surprised if Austin Simmons is a little bit up and down. And I think it's just going to be mostly up. But, the other one on this list that we both have, or do you have Gunnar Stockton on?
I have 2 other on this list. Yeah. Gunnar Stockton is one of them, obviously, because
I don't see star with him, right? Like, I don't think there's a scenario where Gunnar Stockton is a star in college football.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say. No one thought Stetson Bennett was going to be a star in college football, Like,
he had some juice though. Stetson had the deep ball. Stetson had moxie. I don't know.
For sure. And we haven't seen a lot of him. We haven't seen a lot of him. And I think a stat that a lot of the pro Gunner people like to throw out is, I think he had like 290 yards passing or 250 yards passing or something against Notre Dame. And that was less than Drew Aller or Will Howard threw against Notre Dame. So, Ohio State was obviously scoring a lot more points, moving the ball a lot better than Georgia's offense was on Notre Dame. But I mean, maybe that's something. He was, his 2 starts were against maybe the 2 best secondaries. I guess he'd only had 1 start, but his 1.5 games of playing, of being the starting quarterback at Georgia was maybe against the 2 best secondaries in college football last year in Notre Dame and Texas. So there is something to that, wasn't an easy position for Gunnar to get thrown into. And maybe if he's the guy all off season, everyone talks about his intangibles. Intangibles are cool. I think tangibles are even cooler. So I don't know. I don't know what to expect from Gunnar, but I mean, you kind of had that same conversation about Ty Simpson and the supporting cast. Georgia doesn't have a Ryan Williams on their team. But I think Georgia's supporting cast should be a lot better than it was a year ago. And that should help. That should definitely help Gunnar have success.
Yeah, I don't know. Gunnar is a huge. I don't know, man. Like Gunnar, I have no idea. And it also might be nice for Georgia to just not have that guy for a while. You just went through it with Carson Beck of the potential number 1 overall pick. You have Jared Curtis coming in. Like he's going to have that kind of buzz where Jared Curtis has the superstar, him or Puglisi. Like we'll see if Puglisi still finds a way to factor in. But though Puglisi and Jared Curtis strike me as more of the potential best quarterback in the SEC upside. Gunnar's best quality is just like ultimate grinder teammate where like it's not like he's a walk-on or anything, but I just feel like if he's the kind of guy, he might be the fairest comp to like Mac Jones, where it's just, hey man, we spent a bunch of money in the portal on Zachariah Branch, Noah Thomas, we have Colby Young back. We have 2 older vet tight ends. Like we beefed up our running back room. Like just divide and conquer. Take off when we need to on 3rd and 5. Get some first downs. Don't turn the ball over. Keep a relatively high completion percentage, and don't have the pick problem that Carson Beck had a year ago. So I don't know. Speaking of, by the way,
pick Gunnar threw, or did he throw one against Notre Dame? I know he got a couple fumbles against Notre Dame, but the one he threw against Texas is probably worse than any that Carson threw all year. Like that could have literally lost the SEC championship.
I don't know. I feel like Carson threw a really nasty one against Florida, if I remember correctly. Didn't he have a really bad one?
He threw 3 against Florida, but one of them was terrible. I think that was like the worst one he threw all year. Was the one against Florida.
And the Aguilar part of it. Would you like to get Carson Beck? He threw 12 picks last year.
Yeah,
you remember Carson Beck, the interception problem. For context, you got to see it up close. Joey Aguilar threw 2 more picks than him.
And I bet they weren't against Alabama and
no
Ole Miss, some actual good teams.
No. Joey Aguilar led FBS in interceptions.
So what? Do you have Carson's stats right in front of you?
No, I just know.
He threw 3 against Alabama, 3 against Texas.
He had 3 against Florida, right? Didn't he have 3 against Florida?
I think he may have had 3 different games with 3 picks. Because the Ole Miss one, I will defend this one. Like Ole Miss, Carson didn't actually play bad. It was like the rest of the offense. Like he had 0 time. Ole Miss's D-line was just destroying Georgia's O-line. Like that, he threw a pick in that one, I think, with like 4 minutes left or something, like as the game was over.
Yeah, he had 3 picks against Florida, Texas, and Alabama.
Yeah, so there's the bright side. How many games did he play? 12 games last year? 13? I guess 12 and a half?
12 and a half. Yeah.
So how many games is that pickless? Like he threw 3 picks in the other 9 games? 10 games?
Well, it's weird. He had the beginning, he first 3 games, no picks. And then he had that horrible stretch from basically Alabama to Ole Miss, was just terrible. And then from Tennessee on, he was okay again.
Yeah.
It's just the middle part of the season was where Carson Beck's picks all kind of unraveled for him. Experience limited upside QBs.
The last one, hold on. Bo Pribula was also in that too.
Yeah, I don't really
have anything to say about him, but yeah. Drew Aller wasn't great, so I don't necessarily know. He's like supposed to be the number 1 pick, even though I haven't really seen him be that great in college. So I really don't know what to expect from Bo Pribula, but different type of player altogether.
Yeah, so I don't know.
Missouri's got like the easiest schedule in the SEC or something, right? This year, according to some.
I guess somewhat interesting, but I don't know. I think Mizzou's offense might stink again, and he'll be fine. But they could stink on offense and still be 10-2 and sneak their way into a playoff. So we shall see. Limited upside QBs, experience limited upside QBs. I have Diego Pavia and Marcel Reed on my list.
And I threw Taylon Green into this list as well.
I'm okay with that, yeah.
I think these guys just seem like you kind of know what you're getting, and I don't think they're going to be. I mean, on top of limited upside, I think I kind of high floor. Like I think you just kind of, I don't know. I guess Diego Pavia, I don't know what to expect. This whole game feels kind of fluky, so it's like if he just keeps making plays like he was last year, he's a solid middle of the road quarterback in the SEC, and that's not an insult at all. If Vanderbilt has a middle of the road quarterback in the SEC, I think they're celebrating that.
The problem with Diego is his style is really great early on because Diego puts his head down and is great. He ran the ball. Okay, Matt Green. This is no coincidence. The opener against Virginia Tech where they upset the Hokies, he had 26 carries for 104 yards. For a quarterback. Like that's not sustainable over the course of a full SEC schedule. Like he had 20 carries for 56 yards against Bama. And by the season completely unraveled for him from Texas on. So they lose to Texas. He had 16 carries for 67 yards in that game. He beats Auburn because the man loves beating Auburn, but he had 12 carries there, and his stats weren't great in that game either. 9 for 22, 143 yards, 40% completion percentage. He had 2 games this season, Matt Green, where he threw the ball for less than 50%. He had like 6-7 games where it was in the 50s or less. So he's not an accurate quarterback by any means. But he lost 4. He lost 4 of his last 5. Tennessee completely overwhelmed him. He goes 8 for 17, 104 yards, 11 carries for 45, 4 yards to carry. Like, yes, the last time we saw him, he beat Georgia Tech, 16 carries for 85 yards in that game. The problem is, I don't know, like another year of that beating, like another year of lowering your shoulder like that in SEC play. I don't think that's a sustainable model. And it's not like he's going to become a super accurate quarterback who's less of a gunslinger. Like he kind of is what he is. And I mean, he's a good college football player, but I just think his style does not lend itself to the November, late October calendar for the Commodores. Like, I just think it's just going to be, and when he's talking mess about Tennessee last week, Matt Green, I'm like, man, you come to Neyland next year. And by the end of the year, you're probably like 2-10, 2-9 with your schedule and everything. You're somewhere around there. You're going to get pulverized in Neyland Stadium. Like Tennessee's going to win that game 45-7. And that's like the last memory potentially, because if you don't have a bowl game. So I don't know. I just think he's a great, like he is a great college football quarterback, but man, that style just does not work long term. I don't think over the course of a full SEC schedule. Then Marcel Reed, I wonder if we're in the minority here, Matt Green, where we see him and it's like, he's solid, but I didn't think he was great for Texas A&M last year. I think Texas A&M had a quarterback problem on both ends. Like Connor Wegman couldn't hold on to the job. Marcel Reed couldn't really hold on to the job. He was okay, but I don't think Marcel Reed has this upside where he can be, I don't know, one of college football's best quarterbacks. Like, I don't think he's going to be at Texas A&M great. I think he's okay. Like, he's fine, right? Like, I don't think he's I don't think he's going to be a great quarterback. I don't think there's a lot more in the tank there.
Yeah, I think they seem to have more of an identity offensively when he took over. It's almost like you don't know whether he was the reason the offense got better, but the offense seemed to do better once he came in games, and obviously his running ability is just something that the other quarterback, I'm blanking on the other quarterback from last year. Wegman. Yeah. Where's he now?
Houston.
Wow. Okay. So yeah, that was just like kind of the X factor, I feel like, between the two of them. Like he was just so quick, so shifty. I feel like, I don't know, maybe we've just seen enough of it in college football, in the last decade or so, that you just don't have to be great at the great passer at the quarterback position. If you're a dynamic athlete and just kind of find ways to make plays, like we know A&M's got a bunch of talent. Like it feels like he could kind of game manage his way into like a 9-win season or something. Like I wouldn't be shocked. I mean, A&M was what a win away from the SEC championship a year ago with that season finale against Texas last year. So I don't know. I feel like he's probably not as proven as the other, like in terms of like floor. I don't think he's got the floor that Pavia and Taylor Green, and who's the other one we have in this tier?
I only have Reed and
It's
Pavia
just
on
those
mine.
two. Yeah, he doesn't have the same floor, I don't think, as those guys. Like, he could get benched, like, if things go poorly. But I think he's just a solid, playmaker with Texas A&M's weapons. I think they could be solid this year. But
he lost 4 of his last 5 games at A&M.
Yeah, that's not great. But in terms of Pavia, when you were talking about him, 192 carries a year ago. I don't think I had looked at Diego Pavia's stats to be like on the whole until we were having this conversation. But 20 touchdowns and 4 picks, 800 yards rushing and 8 touchdowns. You got to give the guy credit for where it's due,
Yeah.
And obviously the huge win over Alabama. But yeah, I was actually going back while we were talking. You got to go back to DeAndre Swift in 2019, the last time Georgia had a player with 190 carries in a season. So that's a lot to put on your quarterback. So I'll be interested to see. He doesn't have to hold up for years though for Vanderbilt. He only needs one more.
But the whole thing is, like, he fell apart down the stretch. And again, he's a grinder. Like, Diego Pavia is a tough dude, and he's easy to root for. Like, he's good for college football, right? Like, him beating Auburn over and over again, whether it's at New Mexico State or Vanderbilt, it's hilarious. That the man just loves beating Auburn. But I don't know. We'll see on that front. But I just don't think it's conducive to a full season of success in the SEC.
Yeah, that was probably his worst game of the season too, right? Auburn, he's under 50% in that one.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he was pretty bad in the Tennessee game. I will tell you. Tennessee really, like, they got off that hot start because, like, they had a kick 6 in the opening play and they went up early, but then it was just Tennessee's defensive line and Tennessee's defense as a whole just swallowed him up. Like, Vanderbilt wasn't able to do anything offensively.
Auburn lost 4 games a year ago where they gave up 24 points or less. If Auburn gets an offense, they could be dangerous.
I mean, they should be. Remember, wasn't it Oklahoma where they just throw a pick 6 like at the end? Peyton Thorne just threw it to Oklahoma, and you're just like, what are we doing?
Yeah,
like they've thrown so many games away in the Hugh Freeze era thus far.
Yes, that's another one because the defense didn't give up 24 points, but yeah, they lost 21-14 to Cal, 24-14 Oklahoma 24-14 was to Arkansas, 27-21 was Oklahoma. And then 21-17 to Missouri and 17-7 to Vanderbilt. So, and then 24-10 versus Kentucky. Auburn's defense was like a little underrated a year ago.
They also had Georgia on the ropes 2 years ago at home. Like, Brock Bowers had to go Superman for the Dogs to win in Jordan-Hare 2 years ago.
Yeah. And that
Weird
one was
team.
What, 31-13. I feel like that was like a boring game in Athens. That was the one where Kirby Smart gave the fans shit. It's like Georgia Auburn, Deep South's oldest rivalry, and Georgia fans like, I don't know. This team hasn't been good in a while. Are we still getting up for this one?
Yeah, I remember.
But with such a terrible home slate, like, you got to get up for the Auburn one.
Yeah. Matt Green, unproven potential stars. We're going to disagree here.
Unproven
on mine, I have DJ
stars. This probably should be
DJ,
a 2-person tier, but go ahead.
Okay. I have DJ Lagway, Ty Simpson, who we already talked about, John Mateer, Arch Manning, and Jake Merklinger.
Jake Merklinger, get out of here.
Can I make the case?
Yeah, let's start. That's the elephant in the room right now. Let's start with Jake Merklinger.
So, here's what people have to remember about the Josh Heupel system. What have we seen in the last 2? Where, like, these were 2 theoretical guys, and Nico Imaliava, super high ceiling guys. Like, when you are a projected 5-star guy, that means you have the physical traits, the physical tools to be a first-round guy. There's 32 5-stars. Like, they believe that you have the traits if you project. Like, that's a projection of what you can be. Nico Imaliava absolutely could still develop into that at UCLA, but it was still a situation where it was not a machine type guy. Like, it was not one of those where it didn't look like the cleanest fit after watching it for a full year of him and Heupel's game. We'll see what it looks like with Tino Sinceri at UCLA. Joe Milton. Jim Harbaugh fell in love with Joe Milton. Josh Heupel fell in love with Joe Milton. Super great dude. from a football standpoint, like he had a cannon. And it's just like one of those where you're like, the dude can throw the ball a mile. Like he has an unbelievable arm strength. He's huge. He has the same measurables as Cam Newton. But he just didn't have everything else, Like Tennessee was not throwing over the middle with him in 23. Like that Texas A&M Tennessee game was one of the more brutal offensive showings you'll ever see inside Neyland Stadium. What you found, though, and what I think is important to understand about Heupel's scheme now that we have 4 years of anecdotal evidence, the reason that Hendon Hooker was the best Heupel quarterback and maybe the best Tennessee quarterback of the 21st century is that Hendon Hooker was a great leader and an absolute machine. Remember, he was a 3-4 star guy at Virginia Tech who was a mobile dude who it didn't really work at Virginia Tech. He was a Pruitt guy, and he stuck around, and he didn't win the battle in fall camp. Joe Milton won the battle as a May enrollee, similar to when Joey Aguilar came in. I am not saying Jake Merklinger is going to be Hendon Hooker, but I do think Jake Merklinger is a natural leader. You're seeing him work out, like how he handled the orange and white game when Nico disappeared and everything else, like that all, like Jake, guys have good feelings towards Jake Merklinger, it seems. Like he is a good relationship guy. I think that is a important part of being a QB1 in the SEC and handling the ups and downs and the grind of being an SEC starting quarterback. I think Jake Merklinger, who threw a bunch of balls at Calvary Day his junior and senior year in Savannah, Georgia, I think he has the makeup that is required to be a long-time successful starter in the SEC. I understand he's super unproven. 6'3", 220. He's got good size. He was a multi-sport player in high school. I think he's super interesting for a lot of different reasons. I want to read to you what Andrew Ivins, director of scouting at 247 Sports, said about Jake Merklinger coming out of high school. So he said, this is quote from Andrew Ivins, an athletic quarterback prospect with a multi-sport background that happens to be one of the more experienced signal callers in the 2024 cycle. Not only has he posted a 29-9 record as a starter heading into his senior year, but he's closing in on 700 live pass attempts. That was before he even started his senior year. He's mobile and quick enough to turn a scramble into a chunk play, but looks more times than not to win from the pocket. That is a Hendon Hooker quote, if I've ever heard one. Average arm, but won't blow too many away, but can change speeds as a passer and understands how to utilize touch. That is an Hendon Hooker trait at Tennessee. He has also proven to be rather accurate on the move, at least when targeting the first or second level. No stranger to RPOs and is likely going to find the most success on Saturdays in a balanced offensive scheme that wants its quarterback to function almost like a point guard. That is what Hendon Hooker was. He was a point guard at Tennessee. He was like, I got to find Jalen Hyatt. I got to find Cedric Tillman. I've got to just operate Heupel's scheme. Like I am just going to have our tempo at a high octane, like we're moving, and I'm a machine. Like Hendon Hooker was a machine for Tennessee, and he was a perfect fit because he did exactly what Heupel wanted. And he was a super smart, cerebral guy, super accurate, doesn't throw picks, high completion percentage, knew when to take off on 3rd and 6, and like, all right, nothing's there. I'm going to go get the first down slide, keep this drive moving. Let's keep this thing humming. He knew how to just decipher whatever needed to be done to keep the ball moving, to keep Tennessee's offense humming. That is, when you read Jake Merklinger's high school evaluation, I just see quotes in there where I'm like, that's Hendon Hooker. And I'm not saying he is going to be Hendon Hooker. I am saying his skill set to me, and based on what we've seen from Josh Heupel to this point, I think that's more conducive to success in Josh Heupel's scheme. Like Heupel, like the high variance of Joey Aguilar with leading FBS and interceptions and the low completion percentage. That's not what that's the antithesis of the Heupel scheme. Jake Merklinger, I think, just is the perfect kind of player in a Josh Heupel scheme. I don't even think this is a contest if Joey Aguilar or if Jake Merklinger is a year older. I think if Jake Merklinger is going into year 3 instead of his second year, I think it's just like assumed Jake Merklinger is QB1. But because he's still so young and Joey Aguilar is an older kid who's been at the JUCO level, App State, UCLA, and now here, I think he's got an edge in the age department. But I just think Jake Merklinger, if you were to tell me he breaks out as a perfect replacement to Hendon Hooker that Josh Heupel has been looking to find over the last couple of years post Hendon Hooker, I think of the group in his room right now, it's Jake Merklinger, and he's in the same class from Braylon Staley and Mike Matthews, who are going to be 2 starters for Tennessee at receiver this year. I think the tackles are going to be really good for Tennessee this year. I think the offensive line is going to be better than what you saw as a whole last year. If the receivers can stay healthy, I think they're going to be better than what you saw last year. Merklinger just has to be a leader and be the guy who knows when to take off, and when things aren't there, get 6 to 7 yards. What Nico figured out towards the end of the last year, where he put his head down and he started running with the football, and that opened up Tennessee's offense in a big way. You saw against Bama when Joe Milton started running the football and they were doing some RPO stuff and some option reads in Tuscaloosa. People didn't want to hit Joe Milton. Joe Milton, part of the reason that Tennessee put Alabama on its tail in that first half was Joe Milton was running the football. Jake has that ability. Jake has a bunch of experience at the high school level. I'm a believer in Jake Merklinger. And I just think that he is the guy who has the best chance, under the radar chance, of being the guy for Heupel. And we have seen those kind of guys become stars under Josh Heupel, whether that's Dylan Gabriel, whether it's Drew Lock, whether that's Hendon Hooker. I just think he has that ability. I'm putting my stock and putting all my chips in the Jake Merklinger stock. So I would not be surprised if he breaks out.
Yeah, I will say he is 6 for 9 for 48 yards in his college career. So,
Yep.
you know, for him to be a breakout star in the SEC this year, I would definitely be shocked. It feels like Aguilar athletically kind of fits that more of that Hendon Hooker mold, wouldn't you say? Like,
no.
Aguilar's
still looking to like uncork it. Like Aguilar is throwing into traffic. Aguilar is making, like, he's running around. Like he threw some ugly picks last year against with App State. Like Hendon Hooker, I don't think Hendon Hooker's ever thrown an ugly pick at Tennessee. Like in those 2 years, I don't think it ever happened.
No, he did take care of the ball, but there's a lot more film out there on Aguilar than there is Merklinger. So I don't know. That's bold. I'll be surprised if he's in that kind of top 6 or 7 tier. But I have Austin Simmons, like we said, earlier in this one. But yeah, I think everyone's putting these two as the 1 and 2 quarterbacks in the SEC. But I guess we kind of, and maybe you are too, and I'm viewing this list as legit my 1 through 16. And
that's not how I did it.
DJ Lagway and Arch Manning at 4 or 5. Like I don't think they're proven. I can't say that they're the 2 best quarterbacks in the SEC right now.
Can I give you a take? Another one?
Yeah.
I think Ty Simpson and DJ Lagway have better years than Arch Manning.
Yeah, that's both. I mean, Arch Manning, I would not be shocked if Arch Manning is the 7th best quarterback in the SEC this year.
Yeah.
Like,
I think Arch is a multi-year guy at Texas, by the way. I don't think he's going to be a one and done. Like, I think people are still looking at him in the mock. I just think it's going to take some time. And if he's willing to wait multiple years to sit and learn, I just have a hard time believing. I don't know. Could be wrong, but I just feel like this year is a learning curve for him. And I just think there's going to be some ups and downs. And remember, Quinn Ewers had a rough year last year. I mean, he was a 7th round pick this year. Like,
exactly.
I need to see some more stuff from Texas's offense, and getting CJ Baxter back will help. And I think the running game will be better, but I don't know. I think the situation in the stock, from what I've seen, DJ Lagway 6-1 as a starter. I think he has the most talent, raw talent of anyone in that room, in that group we have. But I just think, look, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Like, I think Alabama's in the CFP, and I think Florida is the 4th CFP team in the SEC this year. And I just think that's it. And I think Texas is going to be good, but Texas can be good while protecting Arch. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think Arch has to be a superstar for Texas to go 11-1, 12-0 in the regular season. I think he can be fine. I think he's going to be good, but I don't think he's going to be a star like DJ Lagway and Ty Simpson will be this year.
Yeah, and it is a little talking out of both sides of my mouth, because I think Quinn Ewers got a little too much hate last year. But at the end of the day, this guy was a 7th round pick, and Arch never even really almost beat him out. Like, there was the game he missed due to injury. Like, there's obviously the Georgia game where they benched Ewers and put in Arch, but it's like, and I mean, obviously I'm not here. Like, Georgia's good. Georgia has a bunch of talent, but that Georgia defense basically took over 2 games last season, and it was both of the times they played Texas. Like, those were the 2 best games they had all season. So it's kind of for Arch to come in there, and it's like you're at home against Georgia. It's not necessarily, Georgia's obviously a good opponent to have to get your first like real experience against, but it's not like it was just the hardest situation ever. Like Gunner Stockton going into the SEC championships, a more hostile environment than Arch Manning had to deal with coming in, that second quarter versus Georgia. Obviously they're down, was it 14, 17, nothing, I think at that point. But yeah, and the fact that he didn't really do anything. You were just back in a couple series later. Like, I don't know. I'm right with you. I wouldn't be shocked if Arch is not a superstar this year. And with Lagway, it feels like it feels like Nico all over. Like Nico obviously didn't have as much experience.
No, I don't think so.
Nico didn't have as much experience as Arch or as DJ going into last year.
DJ was a true freshman and was thrown into the fire and almost went 7-0 as a starter. Like his only loss, he was winning against Georgia when he got.
Have you seen this man's numbers? Like I feel like we have this.
He's the ultimate. Like you had to watch the games to understand DJ Lagway's impact. You had to watch the games back then.
Stats matter though. Like 12 touchdowns, 9 picks. Like that's not great for a guy who's just going to become the best quarterback like in the country this year. Like that's where I'm coming from. It's the expectations on Lagway I think are a little much right now.
I guess, man, but I mean the dude has a cannon. I think he affected games in a major way last year and as a true freshman, and just wasn't scared of the moment. What I like most is he just was not. He has the most upside of anyone in that room, and he just was not. Like Florida could have easily fallen apart. Billy Napier was on the scorching hot seat. Matt Green, Graham Mertz goes down in the Tennessee game. Florida season could have completely unraveled, and he proceeds to go 6-1 as a true freshman starter in the SEC against one of the toughest schedules in college football.
No, and that's fair. I think there's this revisionist history that, he was balling against Georgia, but when he gets hurt, it's like he had the one long throw against Georgia. Who knows? It's like early in the game. The game is probably better if he's in instead of the backup. But it's like, I don't know. There's just Ole Miss, the Ole Miss performance. Like that was the best performance for Florida as a team, but it's like he went 10 of 17 in that game. Like that's fine. Like 13 of 26 against LSU. Like that's fine. Like those are their two biggest wins. It's not like he just balled out on them. So, maybe I'm splitting hairs here because he is a true freshman, but I just feel like if he didn't have a 5-star number 1 quarterback in the country come out of high school, I don't think everyone would be talking about him as being like a Heisman frontrunner this year. And that's like, I have him at like top 5 in the SEC. Like I see the potential. I think we're putting a little bit too much on DJ Lagway right now.
I don't know. I think he's legit. I think he's scary good. So here's what's crazy, Matt Green. So Florida, they beat Mississippi State. They beat UCF. Tennessee, they lose in overtime. But remember, Graham Mertz was kind of cooking in that game. And Tennessee was sweating. Like that game was not going well for Tennessee. They were lucky to get out of Neyland with a win in that game. So that was a coin flip ending. And Tennessee wins. So that's one loss. Like we talked about, he also was winning when he left the Georgia game. Like you said, we don't know how it ultimately would have been, but he beats Kentucky, blows out Kentucky. He beats LSU, beats Ole Miss in a win that knocks Ole Miss out of the CFP. Beats their rival 31-11 at Florida State at the Doak, and then they win and crush Tulane in their bowl game. Matt Green, that's 2 losses from September 22nd on. They lost 2 games. One of them, he came in the midway point, and there was a coin flip game in Neyland Stadium. Took them to overtime. And the other one, they had the lead when their starting quarterback went out in the second quarter. There is a path. Like there is not the margin of error is so thin, but there is absolutely a scenario where if a couple things go Florida's way, they go undefeated from September 21st on, Matt Green.
I mean, they lost 3 games after September 21st. They lost Tennessee. That was October 12th.
Yes. And then Georgia, that's
November 2nd. And then Texas.
Oh, that's right. Texas. DJ Lagway didn't play in that game.
Yeah.
Right. Sorry, I forgot that one. So again, game that DJ Lagway did not play in. And Texas was also taken to the last little bit against Vanderbilt. Like who knows what it looks like against Texas if DJ Lagway is healthy in that game. So my point is like
Texas in the swamp this year.
Yeah, and look, I know Tennessee fans don't want to hear this. I don't want to be correct on this, Matt Green, but I do think Ty Simpson and DJ Lagway are going to ball out. I think Florida and Alabama are both going to be playoff teams this year.
Yeah, I don't think that would make a lot of Tennessee fans very happy. So what is at Miami, at A&M, at LSU, at Ole Miss this year. So some tough SEC environments to go into this year, and Miami. I guess Miami not as tough of an environment, but
I mean, yeah, Miami blasted them last year though.
And they'll get to play Carson Beck for a third year in a row. Hopefully, if he's healthy by the time of the season starting, I think he should be from what people say.
It's true, but the scheduling gods hate Florida. I mean, opening at LSU and then Miami at Miami, Texas at home, and then at A&M. That's nasty work. That is just nasty work by the scheduling gods there.
When is LSU? That's like week 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the first weekend that I'm real jacked about. I guess for being a Georgia fan, the season essentially starts in week 3 with the garbage first 2 games. But yeah, Georgia, Tennessee, that 3:30 doubleheader with Florida, LSU. That's gonna be a good one
for sure. Final one: experience good quarterbacks. We both have Garrett Nussmeier and Lenora Sellers. I'm assuming
we do both have those two in this tier.
And do you have anybody else in your tier? There.
Speaking of tier, we got John Mateer in this top tier.
This is crazy town. This is just crazy town. I feel like
he's one of the more proven quarterbacks in the whole conference. I think you made a valid point that Washington State's strength of schedule a year ago wasn't what it has been in years past. But I mean, just look at the numbers, man. Dual threat. I think John Mateer. I feel confident in what Oklahoma's got at the quarterback position. Like they could have kept Jackson Arnold, and they're like, nah, dude, we're upgrading.
True or false? John Mateer lost his last 3 starts at Washington State.
Things happen.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that's probably true.
It is true. New Mexico, Oregon State, Wyoming. I don't know.
It's not great.
We'll see. He also he's a Diego Pavia thing where he had 18 carries against Wyoming, 14 against Oregon State, 21 against San Diego State, 20 against Boise when they got blasted by Boise. He didn't have a good game there.
That's why I love carries, it, man.
Against Texas Tech, he had 21 carries for 197 yards. But he also only completed 9 passes in that game.
It's John
Mateer. Everyone is throwing John Mateer out there, man. I'm just like, I don't see it. I don't. In Oklahoma, that offensive line might be bad again. Like I think there's a real chance that Oklahoma has a bad offensive line again. And I just feel like he's a disaster waiting to happen behind a bad offensive line.
Yeah, it could be. I think, it might not be easy, but 27 touchdowns, 7 picks, 750 rushing yards, and 15 touchdowns on the ground. Or is that 13? 13 touchdowns on the ground a year ago. Like, I don't know. I think the fact that he is a dual threat, I think Oklahoma's offense could be a little dangerous next year. I think John
Maybe Jay Nod should help,
out.
But I just think their offensive line could be bad again. Like I'm not sold on the offensive line fixing all their problems from a year ago. We'll see. Big step up for John Mateer. And here's the other problem for John Mateer believers. Oklahoma has the toughest schedule in college football next year. I just don't think he's going to be able to run like this. I just talked about ad nauseum what Diego Pavia's rushing attack did on like the toll it took on him down the stretch last year in Vanderbilt. That wasn't even the toughest schedule in college football last year. Like Oklahoma is going to be like John Mateer. If he's going to be running around like that and putting his shoulder down, he's not even Diego Pavia is a bigger dude than Mateer. If I'm not like John Mateer is only 6'1", 219. What is Pavia? Pavia is way more than 219, right?
Probably not because he's probably like 5'10" or something, right?
I guess that's true. The size, yeah, he's 6 foot 200. So I guess, yeah, I don't know if I buy that.
6 foot.
I don't think he's 6 foot, right?
No way he's 6 foot.
Yeah, the 200 also doesn't seem legit. But either way, he's bulky. Diego Pavia is a bulky, muscular, like bowling ball. He's like Cam Scatabo at quarterback. John Mateer is not that guy. John Mateer, if he's going to run like that against what is on Oklahoma's schedule, man, I don't know. I don't think he's going to make it that way. And I just think Michigan in week 2 at home is going to be a big indicator. You got to go to Texas, to South Carolina, Ole Miss at home, at Tennessee, at Alabama. I mean, that stretch is just brutal, Matt Green. I don't see it.
What I will say is this has got to be, and I think those are all good points. I think this has got to be the year of the worst, like the least proven quarterbacks the SEC has ever seen. Like you'd put these guys at the top because like we're talking about Lenora Sellers, like yeah, like pencil him in, he's experienced. Like Lenora Sellers is far from like a proven commodity. You know what I mean? Like I feel like I just have a lot of it's a vibes thing with Lenora Sellers too. He's gritty, you know, finds ways to win. He's super athletic. Like 18 touchdowns, 7 picks, not anything amazing. 674 yards, 7 touchdowns on the ground a year ago. Like that's good, not great, you know. He wasn't able to stay healthy, you know, 100% of the time. Like maybe playing the way he does, maybe he gets hurt at some point. South Carolina's got a really tough schedule. But I was just looking at Garrett Nussmeier because I mean, it's kind of insane the way we talk about quarterbacks because Garrett Nussmeier is getting talks of being the number 1 pick in the draft in 2026, right? Like you've seen the same things I've seen, right? 29 touchdowns, 12 picks a year ago. And what are we talking about with Carson Beck? Like he's just like the worst player ever. Like Carson Beck, everyone hates Carson Beck, and he was 28 touchdowns and 12 picks a year ago, basically identical percentages. And Carson Beck, we know, had a team that dropped 5 passes a game or something like that, if not more. I'm not even sure what that math is, but Nussmeier is far from like just this proven like you know what you're getting. He just it feels like LSU was like the most entertaining team to watch every year. Like Garrett Nussmeier, you feel confident that you got like a general back there, like a guy who's just going to put his body on the line for the team because he's going through a war. It feels like every single game, like he's going through it. And it was some good, but some not so good for LSU a year ago. So LSU, I feel like is the team with like the highest variance like in the SEC next year. Like they could be a 6-win team and they could win 11 games and win the SEC or something. Like I think they're just it's hard to know what LSU is going to do next year.
I can't go that far. Brian Kelly has a very safe floor among all the college football coaches. Like when was the last time he won less than 8 games in a regular season, Matt Green?
No, that's fair. I mean, what did they win? Did they win 8 last year? Were they 9?
At
9-4.
I think they won 9 total, but I think
they were 9-4.
I think he has a safe floor. But like to your point, Garrett Nussmeier just feels like the ultimate like good, not great college quarterback, right? He just feels like obviously a good NFL first round pick type, but it doesn't feel like he's gonna he doesn't have the juice, Matt Green. Like it doesn't feel like a Heisman type year. He doesn't have I don't know, he definitely doesn't have the same pizzazz of Jaden Daniels and Joe Burrow at LSU. He's fine. Like it's just we're all looking at Garrett Nussmeier like he's fine. Like probably a first round guy. Like
yeah.
But I don't think Garrett Nussmeier is going to be the QB1 on a title team. Like I don't know. He's fine. Like Garrett Nussmeier is a fine quarterback.
He feels like the kind of guy who gets drafted 12th overall. And he's like the 4th quarterback picked. And someone's like, I don't know if he's a first round grade, but we really need a quarterback. We won 4 games last year.
He was productive. He won 26 games in 2 years at LSU. Yeah. It's like he's solid. I just don't know. Like Garrett Nussmeier's fine. Lenora Sellers is a big year for him because South Carolina, there's going to be a sneaky amount of pressure on them to replicate what they did a year ago. They're losing some big time talent. Dylan Stewart's back, which is important, but man, South Carolina is not this place where you just repeat CFP borderline seasons, you know? Like there's going to be a lot of pressure on Beamer and company. Shula taking over as OC, Dow Logan's now HC at App State. I don't know. Like South Carolina is super interesting to me because I think there's an expectation that they're a CFP team, and I've seen that a lot. And I'm just like, all right, we'll see. This is a big year. There's real expectations in Columbia this year.
Yeah, there definitely is. And he feels like a guy, I don't know, maybe it's his style. Like it could be a risky, like South Carolina is definitely another one that you could say the exact same thing I said about LSU. Like it's a team with a lot of variance this year. Lenora Sellers misses a couple games. Like obviously they could have beaten LSU a year ago. Now they're going to have to go to Death Valley. But yeah, it'll be an interesting year. I'll say this, gun to your head. Who's first team All SEC quarterback next year?
I'm going to say Ty Simpson.
Oh, Ty Simpson. I thought for sure you'd go DJ Lagway. Wow, that's shocking. Ty Simpson. God, I hope it's not Ty Simpson. Alabama, we all need a couple down years for Alabama, right? We can't go. There are no ways he's first team all SEC quarterback if they're not in the SEC championship game.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think Nussmeier feels safer than Lenora Sellers. So I'm going to go Garrett Nussmeier.
Nussmeier is the ultimate like second team all SEC. Like I just feel like he's the safest number 2, but I just don't think he's going to hold off to because I think he's the preseason favorite for number 1
dude,
there.
For 4,000 yards, look, 30 touchdowns, good season. You got to give him his credit. But LSU went 9-4 or something like that.
Like I think Alabama's going like 11-1, 10-2 type deal, and I think Ty Simpson's going to be the commander in chief of maybe the SEC's best offense this year.
Yeah, I don't think a quarterback can be first team all SEC without being on one of like the 4 or 5 best teams in the conference at least. And I just don't see a way that Florida is one of the 4 or 5 best teams. I can't put Lagway for that reason.
They're going to be I think Florida is going to be the ultimate test case of how the committee evolves. Like, do they put a 10-2 ACC or Big 12 team in over 9-3 Florida? Is my question. Like, if Florida goes 9-3 with their schedule, is that enough? Where it's like, all right, look,
I think so.
It's 9-3, but you got to put them in. Like that's to go 9-3 against that schedule. DJ Lagway's a star. You're putting Florida in.
It's all about the how it happens, because it's like, is it truly a down year for Georgia? Is Georgia a 4-loss team and they're the 19th ranked team in the country? It's like, does that win not mean as much? So obviously you have to see how that's just one team. They have like 5 or 6 teams that could be preseason top 15 on their schedule, but it all depends on how it shakes out. But
I'll say this, Matt. A 4-loss Georgia team would be the most jarring college football development in a while, I think, for me and all college football fans.
Yeah, let's hope we don't have to deal with that. I don't think we've seen last year was the first 2-loss regular season Kirby Smart has had since I think 2016. No, since 2020, since the pandemic.
I would take free Matt Green. And I have a question.
What's that?
If Tennessee upsets Georgia in week 3, do you think Georgia still is a playoff team after that?
That's tough to say because I feel like a month ago, 2 months ago, whenever pre-Nico leaving, I would have said that that's the toughest game on Georgia's entire schedule in terms of just Gunnar Stockton's first start of the season against an actual legit competition in Neyland Stadium. Like the fact that it's going to be the most difficult environment Georgia plays in, and it's like the first legitimate game. You could just come out slow the first couple of quarters. So it's hard to say because it's clearly Georgia's toughest road, I guess.
Why is it clearly? Auburn gave you a much bigger issue 2 years ago.
Auburn has been a significantly worse team than
but like the last time you went to Auburn almost beat you. Like that was 2 years ago.
No, that's fair. I think those are the 2 tough road games on Georgia's entire schedule. So those are the ones you got to circle. But the fact that Tennessee's first with just an inexperienced team, because Auburn, by the time Georgia's played Auburn, Gunnar will have starts against Tennessee on the road at Tennessee, Alabama, maybe another one. It might be after Alabama, maybe like the 5th game.
They get Kentucky at home.
Kentucky, okay. So there's a little more experience before they have to go to Auburn. I think that's why Tennessee is in such a tricky spot. But yeah, I mean, if you're going to lose to Tennessee, 2 weeks later you got to beat Alabama, or else you're a 2-loss team before you get out of September. Yeah, it's not looking great if you lose your first legitimate game of the season with 9 more to go. It's the prospects of making the playoff are not great.
I'll say this. We'll end on here. I think they missed the playoff. They lose to Florida or lose to Tennessee in week 3. I think they're not a playoff team. I think it is asking too much with their schedule where you would have to lose only one more game with Bama at home, at Auburn, Ole Miss at home, Florida and Jacksonville, Texas at home, and Tech on a neutral site. I think to only lose one game out of the rest of that list, I think that's asking a lot. I think that's a 9-3 season if you get upset by Tennessee.
Yeah, I mean, I think power rankings wise, Tennessee is probably the third or fourth most difficult opponent on the schedule. But on the road, that makes it a little bit more tougher of a matchup. So I don't know. I don't know if if the world is ending if they lose to Tennessee. Like, that's a legitimate opponent to lose to on the road. But obviously, you want to make it to 4-0. If Georgia can make it to 4-0, I feel like they're almost guaranteed to make the playoff. Obviously, that's not true. But I think Tennessee and Alabama, I think if they're 3-1, I think that's almost expected. Like, not that the ceilings isn't the expectations aren't sky high for Georgia or anything. I just think that early in the season is just tricky at Tennessee and Alabama, third and fourth games of the season. I think if Georgia's, one loss coming out of September, it's not the worst thing.
That's fair. All right, Matt Green. What can the good folks check out from you and the team over at Georgia Voice of College Football this week?
Yeah, we'll check us out Tuesday night, 7:00. We'll be coming to you with the keeping our countdown going and then just talking more Georgia football, like the folks love to do. And yeah, I think we might have some sort of commitment, some sort of live show later in the week, getting together with a couple of different Voice of College Football experts to talk about the commitment of Micah Lee on Friday. So we'll see what happens there. It's still in the talks, but yeah, we'll see what happens.
There you go. Matt Green, always a pleasure, my friend, and I'll talk to you again next week.
Yes, sir.
Nicely done, nephew. The Chase Thomas Podcast. Hell yeah.